Moving on to the second piece of content here is also Swarovski, and it's the Oscars this time. So you went from Mexico City and now you're in LA shooting this red carpet Oscar event for a corporate client as well. So just walk me through, how this came about, your role, and your thought process behind it.
So this is special to me for many reasons, and it's not a linear. We don't go like it didn't go from Mexico City to this. There's so much shit that had, like 2 years of stuff happened in between, but. This was special, one, because this was one of those things that we did that immediately anybody that I tell can connect to. So leaving medicine, obviously a lot of people had opinions about what I was doing. And then because it was so new, like 5 years ago, we weren't talking about content, and social media was there obviously, but nowhere near, like now everybody's moms and dads are on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, but it wasn't like that before. So it was really hard for people to understand that what it was that I was trying to do. When we did this shoot and I put it on Instagram and people were asking me what I was doing, I was like, oh, I shot the red carpet at the Oscars. Immediately it clicked for everybody. It's like, holy shit, if he's at the Oscars, he must be doing something right. Because it's such like, even my mom and dad know what the Oscars are, right? So everybody immediately was like, oh shit, then this kid must be doing something because he's at the Oscars. So I think that was really, really important. And the other thing was, so Atif and Humay did not come on this shoot with me. It was just me. I was leading the team, and I had one other person with me, Chris. Shout out to Chris. We actually had a really good time. We had a really good time in LA. And right after this, we were there for a week. We did the Oscars, and then we did the red carpet premiere for Beauty and the Beast, because that came out a week later. So we did both of those things. And being there and Atif having the trust in me to like lead the team and make this happen, and I edited everything too. And this is one of those things that as soon as the red carpet was over, this had to be turned around immediately. So it had to get posted while the Oscars were happening. So one, that's obviously really stressful, but him having the trust in me to like letting me do this and letting me grow, I really, really appreciated. That's why this video to me is really special.
Yeah, and walk me through, because a lot of the work that you've engaged in is just like you're shooting and editing and turning it around almost immediately. So walk me through just that process of, having conversation with the client, knowing what they want before the beginning of the night, and just how you sort of plan that out for yourself and the team going into it, knowing that you have to pump out a recap video by the end of the night, or multiple.
It's funny because I think this concept now is a little bit more common, but the first few times when even Atif pitched, when Atif even pitched this to clients, they didn't believe what we were saying. They thought we were misspeaking because nobody was turning around recap videos right after the event. Well, before the event ended. And that was something that we really specialized in. And I remember Spotify is actually one of our biggest clients. And I remember that to them too, like they didn't understand, like, what do you mean you're gonna give us, like, we're gonna have story clips and a recap video by the time the thing ends? Like, that doesn't make any sense. So I think that, and it's also like this really intense sport. So you have to train to do this. It's not something you can just be like, oh yeah, I can do that. I can, like, edit while the show is happening or whatever. The person who's editing is like in a very intense space, and the person who's shooting has to be very aware of what it is that he needs to edit. So it's normally our philosophy is shoot as much as possible. That way we always have flexibility in the edit. But when we're doing something that needs to be turned around immediately, then you have to be a little bit more strategic about how you shoot, because I can't dump, a lot of extra footage on the editor, or someone can't dump that footage on me, because then I have to go through a lot of stuff and it slows it down. So that's why it's really important to have like these big meetings like you're talking about, like first having the meeting with the client and then having a meeting within the team, so everybody knows, like, if there's 3 shooters, what each one is shooting and what it is that the editor is going to require. So these clips, if it's a story, the clips are planned out. So the first clip's going to be this, the second clip's going to be that. So shooting wise, that's what we do. Then 3 shooters or 2 shooters or whatever goes out, and they specifically get these targeted clips that they need in order to create the first story, and then make the next one and make the next one. So planning and pre-production meetings are super, super important. Otherwise it would be a shit show.
Absolutely. And I've seen you obviously shoot, we've been on shoots together where you're the one shooting, and then the shoots where you're editing the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, is there one that he would say you prefer, one over the other, or is it kind of just even kill at this point?
Nah, I don't like it. I would shoot any day over editing. Like, unless, because there's very few projects that I would be really invested in the editing process. But you know, like it's, but I do understand how important it is, so I definitely have to be good at it. So I have done that, but if I had to pick, I'd rather shoot like 24 hours straight than have to edit for 4 hours straight.
Yeah, no, I totally agree that. Yeah, editing, especially in real time, you know, it's, yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a sport. It can be very stressful. You have multiple people just kind of in your ear, and a lot of, you know, there's only, I mean, everyone's trying to make a change sometimes, but yeah, it can be just a stressful job when, as if when you're shooting, you're kind of just like, well, you shot it, and you kind of just sit around and wait for the next thing, and the person that's editing is like just typing away, hammering away.
If I had to pick two within editing, I'd rather do the live editing than regular editing, because the live editing, you have this small amount of time and you have to get it done. But once you're done, you're free. But sometimes, and even the client has to post it, so there's a lot less back and forth. But if you have a regular project where you have a day or 2 days or 3 days to do it, then sometimes that drags on, and then people's asks change. Like they might say they wanted one thing, but now they want something else, and then that stuff can get a little annoying. But so if I had to pick between the editing, I'd rather do the live one, even though it's insanely stressful. But it's stressful for like a short duration of time. But then when you're done with it, you're done, and then you can move on to the next.
That's true. The last point that I want to hit about editing, just sort of how do you balance feedback or criticism? You know, like obviously if you're editing, you're creating a piece. You know, every edit that you create is sort of a piece of you. It's a piece of your art and your skill set. Like, what is it, especially maybe when you were starting out, like just being able to balance that? You know, this criticism isn't attacking you personally, but it's just like, you know, you need to figure it out.
It ties into the idea of being flexible. There's some clients that hire you for your vision, and there's some clients who think they hire you for your vision, but what they really want is you to create their vision. And I think they're both fine, right? As long as when you're agreeing to something and you're both in agreement, it's completely okay. I think that I don't think you ever really take it personally. I've never, because I know that, first of all, it's not for me, it's for them, right? They have to push it out or whatever. So there has been very few times where we would give pushback because we really believe that this might be better for them, like it might perform better or do better. And there's certain clients that are like that, where they'll lean on you to give your opinion, and then they'll kind of help dictate which way you go. But there's certain people, like they need a very specific thing, and you go in doing that. Or it might not be clear, but then when you send them an edit, they realize, okay, now I know what I want. And then you have to do whatever it is that they think that, you know, whatever it is that they want. So I don't think the criticism wise, because it's not really criticism, it's more about they're trying to mold it into look like what they want it to. And my job is to mold it to what they want. I want them to be happy. That's my sole goal. It's not about me. It's about making them happy, so they'll keep hiring us and we keep doing or creating good things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just, if for any young editor that might be watching this, you know, always take it, you know, with a grain of salt. They're just trying to create their ideal vision that's going to work for their brand, and it's never anything personal. Usually,
it is not. It is not.
Unless you really mess up, then it might be.
Yeah, I mean, you could mess up. You know, stuff like that happens, and there's definitely times where you disagree with the client, and you're like, "Yo, this sucks, and this is not good, and it's not going to work." But you know, it is what it is. They're, at the end of the day, they're paying for a service, and you gotta give them what they want.
Absolutely.